I need to shake that off. So bad. So bad. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about all the books I read in March. And oh my God, March. I was on some crack. I'm calling it now. March is going to be the best reading month of the year. The amount of books I rated 5 stars in this month is actually unheard of. So this month I read 15 books and I DNF'd 3. First book of the month was my most anticipated read of the year, and I still to this day cannot believe that I received an ARC copy. Hunt the Villain by Rena Kent. This book was absolutely incredible. This is actually the first book that I sit down and tabbed and annotated. I took in every single word of this story. This is an dark romance masterpiece. Julian and Vaughn are my new favorite Rena Kent couple. I absolutely loved everything about this book. I think I was a few chapters in and I already knew it was going to be a 5-star read. You just know when you read one of those books and you just think, oh, this is going to be incredible. The second chance romance element was written so well. I love it when an author gives you the past and you get to live in it like it's the present, and then it takes you to the present 3 or 4 years, I can't remember. And then you just get to experience that. The multiple timeline thing annoys me. I feel like I'm going back and forth and it just, takes me out of the story. But the way this was written was utterly perfection. Vaughn was so jealous. Anytime someone even looked at Julian, Vaughn hated it. He was annoyed. It was so good. And then Julian, he reminded me so much of Nikolai. He was so reckless. I loved it. Oh my God. And the smut. The smut was on another fucking level. Absolutely no notes. And then I was thinking, what the hell am I going to read after this? Anything is not going to match up to that level. And I was thinking, oh, I need to meet Vaughn's parents because I love Vaughn. So I'm sure I'll love his parents. So then I went and did the Monster Trilogy by Rena Kent. And oh my God. I don't even know where to begin with this trilogy. This was some crack. Like genuinely, the plot twists, the cliffhangers, the characters, oh my God. There's a scene, and I will actually never forget this because I was just like, there's a scene in the sauna, like a spicy time scene, and he's going down on her, and it's that good that she faints. And I was like, yeah, girl, I'd faint too. Like that scene was just something else. Oh my God. I genuinely was devastated to finish this series. I rated every book in this series 5 stars. It didn't feel like there was an end. It was just one story. Oh my God. Thinking about this trilogy and the fact that I'm never going to be able to read it again for the first time actually makes me kind of upset. It's a military romance and it's also a Milan retelling, and you've got Sasha, who's disguising herself as a man in the army. Kirill, the main character, is the commander of the army. He doesn't show any emotions, so you best believe I loved watching his facade crumble for her. Touch her and die. He was so jealous. He was so possessive. It was so forbidden. If you haven't read this series, go do that. Go do that. And then I was thinking, oh my God. So Hunt the Villain's gotten me out of my dark romance slump. The Monster Trilogy was some crack. What am I going to read next? Well, luckily, In Her Own League came out. And this is also one of my most anticipated reads for the year. And I was thinking, amazing, super excited. Let's get into it. Yeah, I DNF'd this at 50%. And look, that's not on Liz Tom 40, okay? I love her writing. She's an amazing author. I will continue to read everything she writes. I fear the boss employee trope is just not for me. I actually read recently The Wild Card by Stephanie Archer, which is the same exact trope where the boss is a woman and the employee was the coach of the team. And I just am like, I don't know. I find it a bit boring. Workplace romance is my least favorite trope out of all of them. And then when it's the boss employee, I just feel like I don't care because they're constantly saying, oh my God, we can't do this. We're going to ruin your reputation as a woman in sport. And it was just like so back and forth for that first 50%. I was kind of like, how many times are we gonna like kiss? And then, oh no, we can't do it. And then, and I was like, ah. And like, to be fair, on top of the fact that this trope really does fall flat for me, coming out of the dark romance energy that was literally as good as it gets to reading a contemporary romance book is always going to be difficult. And I think because I was in a dark romance slump and I got sent out of it, to then go into this, I honestly really wanted to pick this back up. I put it down thinking I'm going to come back to it. I just didn't have the desire. I hope I eventually go back to it. Everyone says the second 50% of this book is so good when they start like, you know, having sex. Like it gets really like freaky and Monty's super hot. I just haven't really seen that yet. So yeah, look, hopefully I'll come back to it. But it was a DNF for me, which was quite disappointing. And then I thought, what the hell am I going to read? I'm going to be in a slump now because of the dark romance perfection that I read. So I decided to go and reread one of my favorite dark romance Rena Kent books, God of Ruin. Oh, this book was almost as good the second time reading it as it was the first time. Land and King. Oh, he's just such a psycho. Like, he is such a psycho. But even better than that is Mia, the FMC. She puts him in his place so well. She humbles that man. Their banter, their back and forth banter is some of the best I have ever read. I just love it. The whole muse with her being his muse and he's a sculptor, that was so interesting. And then I was thinking, oh, I actually kind of vibe with Mia's parents, who I haven't met. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll go meet Mia's parents. As you can tell, I'm kind of on a Rena Kent roll at the moment. But yeah, this was a reread, 5 stars. I mean, everywhere. Like, oh, I could not recommend this book enough. This is actually, well, now that Hunt the Villain's out, I'm a bit confused. But this is my favorite Rena Kent book. Probably tied with Hunt the Villain now because I'm a bit like, ooh. But yeah, and then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go read Kiss the Villain because I'm having a great time in Rena Kent land. I wanted to reread this after having read of different Rena Kent books. I don't know if it's just me, but when I read a Rena Kent book, I'm so engrossed with the plot line and the characters that we're following that I just don't really notice the side characters that kind of pop in and stuff. And when I first read this book, I hadn't read Beautiful Venom, so I didn't realize that Kane Davenport from Beautiful Venom is the nephew of Caden Lockwood. I didn't notice that. So when I reread this book, there was all these little connections between this book and Beautiful Venom, which was so fun. I loved it. And I even noticed that in God of Ruin, that Caden, this MMC, ends up playing chess with Mia and asking her about Garrett. Like, this is why I need to reread Rena Kent books, because she puts all these little Easter eggs and these nuggets in, and I missed them the first round because I'm just so engrossed in her main plot line. So I had such a good time reading this book. I honestly think Kiss the Villain is so underrated. Bear in mind, I did audio this, and the narrators that perform this audiobook, oh God, like some of the hottest spice I have ever listened to in my life. I actually don't think I could ever read it because of how good the audiobook is. I've listened to it twice. I audioed this one. And oh, it's such an underrated book. I absolutely love Kate and I absolutely love Gareth. I think that their relationship was so beautiful. I feel like they helped each other. It's a bit toxic in all the best ways. Teacher, student, age gap. Oh, it's so good. And then I did, in fact, go and meet Mia's parents, Rye and Kyle from Throne of Power and Throne of Vengeance. I really enjoyed this duet. It was such an easy read. Rye Sokolov is one of the baddest FMCs I've ever read about. I'm not going to spoil what she does, but in the second book, she does something so incredibly mental. I wanted to just like, oh my God, I've never read a character do something like that. I actually love her. Kyle Hunter, he confused me so much as a character because he is my type on paper. You know, precise shooter, bit of a stone cold man, quite toxic. I really vibe with his energy. But then his trauma was coming out and, you know, he wasn't treating her the best because of his trauma. And I struggled with that. I really did. He does one thing that actually had me sitting there thinking, oh, oh, like that, yeah. I'm actually not sure how I feel about it. I love them together though, so I have all the best things to say. And regardless of what he does, I still really enjoyed the duet. Super fun, super easy to read. I would recommend, but I can see how some people would read it and come out of it not liking him. But regardless, she is just, oh, she is a phenomenal character. So read it for her. And then I went and did Shadows of Fury. just a moment for that book. Oh my God. So good. I was literally on some dark romance crack this month. Not only did I love Damien, I also loved Roxy. I loved them together. It was a touch him and I, touch her and I. They were both so protective of each other. And the way that their relationship developed was just so beautiful. She was the type of FMC that had a lot of trauma and found it really, really hard to let people in and to trust that the guy that was with her wasn't going to just leave her and ditch her. So she was really scared to feel something for someone. And the way that she let her walls down for him and the way that he just made such a safe and beautiful place for her to land, he was just steadfast in his adoration and care for her. And he's been obsessed with her for years, which is always something I'm going to absolutely eat up. It's a marriage of convenience, which is one of my favorite tropes. Absolutely phenomenal. I have nothing bad to say about this book. The only thing, and this is super random, but like there was actually like a little bit gory. Like I'm like a little bit of a sensitive girly. Kind of like the difference between like Marvel and DC, you know? I was like, oh, like fuck, you know, there are some like gory moments where I was like, ooh, okay, like ripping the skin off the body kind of vibe. And it was like quite detailed with that. Oh. But still amazing, written so well. And like I like to feel like the author is doing what they're intending, and she was clearly wanting you to be immersed in that. It was just such a good book. Please go read it. 100% recommend. It's mafia, dark romance, perfection. And then I went and attempted to read another contemporary romance book. Obviously, In Her Own League didn't go that well, but I was like, all right, I need to get off the dark romance bandwagon. I need to read something different now because I was terrified. I was going to read one that was horrible and put me into a slump. So I was like, I need a genre change. So then I went and read Toe to Toe. This was such a fun book. This was a ballet dancer who was told by her company that she needed to work on her sex appeal. So when she goes to her sister's hen's night, that is at a strip club, she ends up speaking to the main performer afterwards and saying, I want you to teach me. So yeah, so much fun. His whole vibe with her was you need to work on your confidence, you need to embrace your femininity. I just really loved how much growth she went through, and her journey of accepting and really coming into her skin was so beautiful. I honestly found it a gorgeous story to read about. He ended up having more trauma than I thought he was going to have. He was definitely a morally grey character, but you know what? Sometimes it's really nice to read about a man who isn't just like perfect. I really enjoyed his struggles, and I found it added a lot to the plot. It wasn't like your average tropey book that followed kind of like a set sequence of events. It was really different to anything I've read before, and I loved it. 4.5 stars. Then I attempted to read My Pucking Crush, which is an hockey romance that kind of had a little bit of a mafia element to it. Yeah, look, I am just in an slump. Since Hunt the Villain, I can't read Nothing is going to be as good as Hunt the Villain. I'm really actually concerned about my inability to read that genre. I don't want to say it's the book's fault because I did try and audio it, and the narrators, look, I've listened to Teddy Hamilton way too many times now, so he's kind of my like, if I see his narrator, I'm like, okay, like it's not like something that would make me pick up the audiobook. And Joe Arden, I hate to say this, but I think he's overrated. I'm not really a big fan. Like, you know, two narrators I wasn't that keen on hearing, and an story that wasn't going to be as good as Hunt the Villain. Yeah, nah. Then I went and read Love Song. I was really excited for this book. I thought, you know what? Garrett Graham is my favorite off-campus man. This is literally his son. Like, oh my God. I went into it with such high hopes, smacked on the audio. I was really keen to listen to Connor Craig as well because I hadn't heard him before. Put in the audio. First 10% of the book, yes. I was like, oh my God, I'm in this, amazing, vibing. MMC's giving like hot, broody musician. FMC, super relatable, completely understood her vibe. Yeah, first 10%, fabulous, right? Then we get into our forced proximity era of this book, where they're staying at the same beach house for the summer. So they start interacting. And then what the fuck? Like, I'm so incredibly sorry, but I did not see their connection at all. From the second they began interacting with each other, they were literally bickering and arguing like they were siblings. The way they spoke to each other and the way he took on the big brother role, I was shocked. I was actually shocked because he wasn't likable. Like, there was actually nothing to like. And I was thinking, all right, it's audio, I'll push through, whatever. Then we get to a scene, and honestly, this is like full major spoilers for this book because I feel like I just need to talk about it now. So if you want to read this book, maybe just skip past this part of my video. I didn't like this guy. I think he was being super bossy. They were bickering with each other. It was just whatever. Then he decides, and we're like 2/3 in the story already, right? Because he's like so adamant that he doesn't want a relationship, and whenever he feels attraction towards her, he's like, no, I can't be in a relationship. I don't want to feel like this for her. No. So he goes and decides to hook up with someone, right? So he has there's a scene where he's literally kissing some other girl. She's going down on him. Like, I'm sorry, what? And any time this MMC and the FMC actually sat down to speak where they weren't bickering and had like a little maybe emotional connection, which was very rare, might I add, the MMC would freak out the next morning and be like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. Like, no, like I can't get close to her. Like, I was just like, what? Ah! And then there was this side plot line going on. Oh, it was like a Loch Ness monster type situation. Like, I don't even remember what they were calling it because that's how disinterested I was. With these two weirdos, and then she was going to the library to like research about it, and I was just like, what am I reading? So anyways, I DNF'd this at 80%. I actually heard it gets worse. I've actually listened to some spoilers on the rest of the book, and I'm so glad I stopped because what was that? Like, that's Elle Kennedy's worst book, in my opinion. Like, shocking. Nah. I mean, I could have liked her. I didn't really. But because I just really, really disliked him. He was a man-child and an asshole. Nah. Oh, I need to shake that off. So bad. So bad. Okay. And then I was like, what the hell am I going to read? I've just DNF'd 2 books. I'm tired of dark romance now. I need a break from dark romance. The books I keep DNFing are contemporary. I am currently in a fantasy slump. What the hell am I going to read? So I was like, oh my gosh, I need some angsty emotional read. I feel like that'll be amazing. So then I was like, oh, I will go back to Boys of Tommen. Up until this point, I had only read Johnny and Shannon's 2 books, and I'd stopped there. And oh my God. Yeah. 6 stars, 6 stars, 5 stars, 6 stars. Like, I genuinely can't. There is something in this story. There is something in these characters. Chloe Walsh is a phenomenal writer. The way that she can get these emotional reactions out of me is insane. The way that I want to go to bat for all of these characters. I will never read anything like Boys of Tommen again in my life. I actually finished releasing 10 and was so emotionally devastated with being done with the series that I went back and started binding 13 again because I was like, you know what? I know these characters now. I feel like it'll be a different experience. Even Johnny, for example, in this last book was so different to how he was in binding 13 because I knew his vibe. So I was like, oh my gosh, I want to go back and read it. And then all the little snippets of Lizzie and Huey coming up in those books as well. It's like, I need to experience all of that after what happened in this book. Oh my God. I'm very protective over this series. I am so incredibly in love with all the characters. My favorite FMC in the series is Aoife, and my favorite MM series is Huey. And then it's probably the opposite for the second. My second fave would be Joey, and my second fave, Lizzie. And then to be honest with the rest of them, like they're probably all on the same level. Like I don't want to say who's last because I don't feel like anyone deserves last place. Like I would say I love Claire and Shannon the same, and I love Gibbsy and Johnny the same. I'm super excited for Patrick and Katie's story. I feel like that's going to be so fun. And the way that that was teased in releasing 10, why was that breaking my heart? I was literally like, what the hell? Like, made me so sad. But no, these books were literally just something else. I can't even put into words the experience that I had. And then my last read of the month, although I went back and started binding 13 again, I was spiraling quite heavily about this series, and I was like, I feel like I need to pull myself out of this spiral. I'm spending all my time on TikTok just looking through like TikToks and reels about Boys of Tommen, and I'm just, free me a little bit, free me. So I was like, I need to read something else, but I feel like I have to read something like emotionally angsty, otherwise I'm just not gonna vibe. So I went and picked up Aria by Jennifer Hartman. This is a rock star romance. This was a very interesting experience. I've only heard good things about this book, so I went into it with high hopes, obviously knowing that probably nothing could compare to Boys of Tommen. It started out well. The MMC was a bit of an asshole for the first 10%, which was confusing, but you know, we got past that quite quickly. So I was like, that's fine. Didn't hold it against him. And then for the first like 40-50%, I was really vibing. I was like, yep, okay, loving it. And then I got to a point where the FMC just started to really annoy me. She was basically just a bad friend. And like, I just really struggled with that. I was like, why are you such a bad friend? Like, this is really hard to read, you know? And obviously she had her trauma and she had her reasons for not being healed. But I don't know, like she just, in every situation, she just seemed to make the wrong decision. And it was just getting to a point where I was like, I don't know how much I want to watch you make the wrong decision every time. You know those moments in books where, for example, you've been waiting for two characters to get together for ages. They finally get together, they finally kiss, and then one of them pulls back and says, oh my God, that was a mistake. And then it breaks the other person's heart, and then they go, yeah, it was. And then they split up, right? That feeling that you feel when that happens, that like dread and that like sadness and that devastation, they finally got together and then the rug was pulled out underneath you. Those emotions, I felt like I was forced to experience multiple times during this read. First 50% was great, amazing. And then it just started to go like this for me. And I was like, what? Surely not. And then you get to the end and it just crashed and burned for me. It's like the worst ending I've ever read about. Oh my God. Actually, like, I'm sorry, but I just didn't think it needed to end like that. I just don't think that needed to happen. It just felt like it was like, all right, let's just like cause you some pain for no reason. I enjoy that. I don't know, very strange. And then I got onto Goodreads because it's a duet. Got onto Goodreads and I was like, do I want to read the next book? I don't really feel like I want to. Like, well, I knew I didn't want to based on how it ended because I wasn't interested after that because I was like, that ending, that doesn't align with me as a reader. I'm not interested. And I went onto Goodreads and I saw this comment and it was like, read this if you want the second book spoiled. Like if you don't want to read the second book based on that ending. And I was like, oh, when I clicked on it and it literally spoiled the second book. And I was like, oh, I'm so happy that I've decided not to continue it because, no, quite literally no. In the end, I rated it 3 stars because I really liked the first 50%. I really did. And I was still enjoying the next 40%, even though it was kind of beginning to go like that. She was beginning to really annoy me because I just really loved him. I think Jennifer Hartman did such a beautiful job on the MMC in this story. And because the FMC was just so unhealed and had so much trauma, she just couldn't treat him right. And that was just hard to read, honestly. It was really hard to read. So yeah, would I recommend? No, I wouldn't. So yeah, kind of want to forget about that book. Very random. That was my March though. I had so many good reads in March. If you enjoyed me absolutely yapping in your face about all the books I read, hit that subscribe button and I'll see you again soon. Thanks.